What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Aha, and we're returning to the second disc of the 20th Anniversary Edition of Analogue, and I'm very excited for this one because it's Windfalls, the only never-before-released track on this second disc. So yes, obviously this one is of particular interest. I'm sure many of you out there in the Aha family have already heard it. I know Sophia was saying that she has listened to it and it's actually grown on her since she first heard it. So yes, I do wonder what style, will be a faster, more energetic tune. Will it have, a richer but like slower type of atmosphere? Even just in terms of the sonic atmosphere, I am very curious. Excuse me. And then the title, Windfalls. Wow, excuse me. So, to come into a windfall speaks to, a sudden inheritance, some amount, whether that's money or some quantity of value coming your way. So I feel like that will likely play into it, but as to whether that's more figurative or literal, I'm not certain. Maybe I'm inclined to think more figurative, but then windfalls, plural, would suggest that this is something that happens multiple times. So yeah, I do wonder about the meaning here. It is a single word title, so yes, let us give this a listen. I'm very excited. This is Aha and a previously unreleased track from presumably the development period of the album Analogue, now included on the 20th Anniversary Edition second disc.
There's no hope of rain in the sea of tears. She's reading the words out loud to me who's there. A Fleabag hotel, just somewhere to dwell. We're reasonably well on our big trip up north. She reads of a man who's a master thief. He left home at an early age on a trade vessel. Informants and spies gives him his eyes. Left home at an early age on a trading vessel. I'll do anything just to make her happy. I'll be a knee breaker for the mob just to see that happen. Set up a scene on the nickel machine. Now's as good a time to show what you're made of. He's surrounded by guns. lessons. He can read and write all tongues known to man. His fingers in pies, his mouth full of lies, possessions piled high on our wild ride up north. To your left, see the wheat fields rolling. Look to your right, there are dust clouds forming. Are your crying fins and our battling winds? We squandered our windfalls, I hated to see that happen. There's no hope of rain in the sea of tears. We're making up time, the end is near. We've shaved off some miles off this rental car's line. Now is as good a time to show what you're made of.
That's cool. I like that a lot. Now, I will say, it feels like sonically they would do more work on this had it ended up on the album proper. Because, there's a couple sections. I mean, maybe it was partly the point. There was, a section in the middle where it really does strip down to that simple, syncopated beat in Morton's voice. But still, that being said, I think it's a lot of what is there is really compelling. There's a lot of like fluttering and winnowing and almost like partially there type of sounds. And the atmosphere overall is sort of like experimental art pop. Like it feels less like a really catchy tune and less like a moody kind of heavier tune and more like this quirky little art tune with, again, some really interesting sonics. And there was like some keyboard layers that had a real kind of vibrating electricity to them, and then the beat itself had this pretty simple bobbing along, almost like in a boat type of sound to it. And then lyrically, I'm the most fascinated because I'm in two minds. Like, there was a point where he's saying like, oh, in this Fleabag motel, just a place to say, she's reading this book. And then it sounded like he's saying like she's reading this book about this guy who, set out, from a young age, and he was going here and there, and there were guards around him, these trained assassins, and it's like we're hearing the story of what she is reading. He'd do anything for her love and so on. But then I wondered like if the narrator, Morton, essentially, is also like telling the story of him and whoever this woman is who's in this Fleabag motel, which refers to a sort of really cheap but you get what you pay for type of place where there's fleas in the mattress and so on. And I thought like maybe there are two stories happening here of what she's reading in the book, but also what is happening. And then again, the line about, the what is it, the like no room for rain in the sea of tears, something like that, which is interesting because it's, almost like flipping around their, the cover of Crying in the Rain, but then, wasting their windfalls, which you hate to see, which is, like they came into some value, some quantity, be it, literally money or otherwise, but it was squandered. It wasn't used for how it might have been. It wasn't put into a good investment, if you will, be it again more literally or figuratively. So again, I just wondered if there was a story being told about the narrator and whatever woman he's speaking about, but there's also kind of this like mirror narrative about this book that she's reading and whoever the title character, the protagonist is in the book. So it's one I have to listen to again. I enjoy Morton's vocals. They're nothing big, they're nothing dramatic. Again, maybe even because it sounds like this is kind of a demo recording, a song in development, but they really kind of hit this sort of otherworldly, a bit quirky, and sort of art poppy type of sound. So yeah, again, not like a rock tune, not like a real synth pop electronic sounding tune, although again there are electronic noises in there, but almost like we're in this world where there's these sonic elements that are kind of fluttering by and then they disappear, and then there's this other element that kind of, it's like it's barely there, it's just kind of coming into being, but then it sort of flutters away. So yeah, a really interesting one, but I enjoyed that a lot. Like, I feel like, number one, I want to listen to it again, like, as soon as I stop shooting this batch, and secondarily, I'd love to hear what they might have done with this had it developed more. And who knows, again, maybe some of those stripped down sections, it was deliberately done that way to kind of really isolate the storytelling and or Morton's vocals. But yeah, as I said, as I was hearing it, I was like, oh, like, it feels like this is kind of like a section they might have worked on more had they developed it beyond. So really cool, and for this alone, it's great to get this bonus disc of early versions and again tracks that either were worked on more, or as in the case here, something that just kind of stayed on the shelf. But yeah, for this one alone, I think the second disc is worth it. So yes, ultimately, I'm very much enjoying this. I really enjoyed hearing that. Let me know what you think of it, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.